thank you so much for being on my show tonight. Listen, usually I kind of play around and, I'll joke a little bit, but I am so excited that you're here with me tonight. I'm just ready to go ahead and just delve right on into this. How are you this evening?
Oh, I am. It is I who am honored by you, the amazing Angela Foxworth. Thank you so much for the opportunity to give the exclusive for this book. This is the perfect setting, the absolute perfect setting. God is here.
Yes.
Amazing people on Periscope are here. Amazing
Yes.
people all over on your show are here. I couldn't ask for a better platform. So it is I that is honored. Thank you so much.
Oh, you are absolutely welcome. Listen, my radio followers know that we're going to break records tonight. I am so excited about the book that you have written, which really is not just a book, it is truly a movement. I want to first thank all of our Periscopers out there tonight. Thank you for joining in. So excited to have you. I want to give a special thanks to Desiree Lee because, her vision is the reason why so many things happen for all of us out here. So I am just blessed and I feel like I'm in amazing company. And I actually want to kind of start off this morning, this evening, by telling everybody how we actually connected. And we were blessed to be at the Microsoft book signing event. No author left behind. I absolutely love that particular concept. And we were at this Desiree Lee's event. And you came in and literally blew me away with your story, which was so impactful. I think I had goosebumps, and that story has not been able to leave me yet. Now we are so excited to have you here to discuss this project, this movement of Let Go, the movement process, your book, which is now gaining momentum, and you're actually number one on Amazon. Is that not correct?
Number one, hot new release
Hot
in
new
three
release.
different categories.
Woohoo! And I'm excited, and just to be able to share that with you, I'm so thankful, and I want our audience to find out exactly who Sean Wyman is and the reason behind all of this magic happening. So the first thing I'd like to just introduce you again to the show. So glad you're here this evening. But what was the passion behind writing this book?
Well, it goes really far back. That's a really good question because it starts a long time ago. I mean, honestly, since the day I was born, this book was being created.
Amen.
And that's what's so powerful about it. Matter of fact, my first chapter is called Since the Day I Was Born because the book literally started the day I was born, right? I mean, We all have our story, right? And some of us choose to write it and some of us don't. In this case, I had no choice. I had absolutely no choice. I was positioned to the point where, there was nothing left that God could do. I'm speechless because I really have no choice. I just know in my heart that this book started from the day I was born. And it's a really powerful thing to realize that the day I was born, this book was initiated. That's how powerful this book is.
See, and I think that is so important and that is so critical that you say that because, a lot of times people don't understand that the seed is sown in your life very, very early. Now, whether or not we choose to accept that is entirely up to us. So I want you to kind of take us back because, for the product that you have today, which is so life-changing, one of the things I'm reminded of is of much is given, much is required. With that being said, what was the journey that you've taken in your life that allowed you to write this book?
Man, I promised I wasn't going to get emotional on this, man, because this is so powerful for me, guys. But it started the day I was born. My dad abandoned me the day I was born. At the age of 7, my mom met this guy and got into this relationship, and I ended up in a very violent situation. From the age of 7 to 10 years old, I was mentally and physically abused, Plus, I watched my mom go through mental and physical abuse. I was in a mixed marital relationship with my mom being white and my stepfather being black, so that had its challenges in and of itself. By the time I was 10, I had gone through this transition in my life where I had learned that I learned what it meant to be truly poor. I lived in a house with no running water and no electricity. I wore the same same clothes to school every day. Wow. I hustled at grocery stores begging for change so we could eat that night. I became a professional thief by the time I was 10 years old. My stepfather taught me everything I needed to know about surviving. And, he was a drug dealer and a drug user. That was part of the reason for the violent behavior. So I got to witness drug use and drug sales at a very young age. And I share a lot of that in my book. By the age of 13, I was an alcoholic. Barely made it through high school. By the age of 21, even though I thought my life was turning around, near-death experience, almost lost my life while I was in the military. Age 26, I was in a horrible divorce. I'd been married for 3 years, barely saw my wife at that time of 3 years for 6 months out of that 3 years. That's about as long as we saw each other because of the military and all the different operations and things that I was doing. That divorce left me $96,000 in debt, not to mention 100 and something thousand on top of that in child support over the next 18 years. Wow. And I mean, it was one journey after the next, Angela. It was one trial, one tribulation after the next. Every one of them laying out this story for this book.
Wow. And it is so difficult to even fathom at 7 and 10 years old, being abused and going through the things that you went through. And where you are today, let me tell you what I find absolutely amazing about your story. It is such a story of redemption, Sean. There are so many times I'm sure you have wanted to throw in the towel. There are times when I'm sure you beat yourself up because if you've lived that kind of life, if you've been an addict, I'm sure there are things you want to be forgiven about. It is hard to even forgive yourself when you go through something traumatic. You were able to overcome that. What I want my audience to be able to resonate with you tonight is for you to be able to, because what do you think is the difference between someone that takes this situation and turns it around and someone that doesn't? You could have called in the towel. You could have actually still been a drug dealer, an addict to this day. What was it in you that decided that was not what you wanted for yourself?
First of all, I'll just come straight out and witness and tell you straightforward that if it wasn't for the hand of God, I wouldn't be here today.
Amen.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts in my heart about that. I know for a fact that it was because of God's grace being there even when I didn't realize that he was there, being there protecting me even when I was going through the most challenging, most dangerous things that I explain in my book. God was there. So firsthand is that God was there, and God was, even though I was going through all this, God was planting the seed going, you see this? You're not going to be like this when you're a father.
Amen.
You see this? You're not going to be like this. You're going to make sure you provide for your family. You're going to make sure you keep the promises. You're going to make sure that you cherish every moment and that you do what's right, not just for yourself, but what's right for your family. So I would say the first step was that God was there every step of the way, even though there was a lot of times where I turned away from him, even though there were a lot of times where I wanted to just pretend like he wasn't there. I always believed in God. But because of being in foster care, I was in so many different religions growing up. I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
I've seen it or I've been a part of it in one way or another. And it got to the point where I said, enough is enough. I believe in God, but that's enough for me. I don't have to prove anything to anybody
Amen.
Or anything. As long as I know what I believe, that's all that matters. And for a long time, that was my attitude.
I think that is absolutely amazing. And I tell you right now, we talk about the challenges of men, period. When I think of a man, I think about someone who has to lead their house. I think of someone who has to be a provider. I think of someone that sometimes carries the weight of the world because everything is, contingent upon you, how you lead your family, the examples that you set. How important being a man is it to be an example to other men?
It's very important, and I'll go a step further. It's important to follow, not just be an example for men, but be an example of what a man of God really is, because I think that's the difference. That's where people go, man, there's something different about this person. There's something there that I don't see from other people, but there's something different about this person, and it gets them curious. It gets them to ask that question. And of course, now it leads to great conversations where, men and women are being saved today because they're seeing that there's something different. They're seeing that, I'm not your ordinary person. I'm not, this just this everyday person that goes out there and just does the minimum. I go out and my goal is to give 110% and follow everything that God's directing me to do now. And it is amazing. I'm on this show because of it. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yes. Well, like I said, I know for a fact, like every time I hear about your journey again, it just resonates. People can relate to the underdog because with all of the obstacles that were against you, being in an abusive household, living in a mixed environment, we talk about it all the time, race relations in the media, they're saying that they're so bad right now. You literally had to live in a household where, unfortunately in your household, your stepfather, who was the African American, the black man, was not, very good to you. He didn't teach you the best things. You could have taken that and not want to, be involved with anybody, but you choose to love unconditionally, no matter, the color, no matter the ethnicity, your whether your gender. You are so open, and that love just radiates. It really does. And when you're talking, there's such an authenticity with what you're stating, because I can tell that you really have gone through some things. So for you, honestly, for someone listening, there's no excuse, because if you can overcome those things, I tell you what, there is a lot for a lot of people to be able to aspire. So, we come full circle. You're actually, talking about how things were not that great for you at that particular time. What was it that finally made you want to start to write this book?
Sorry, I gotta smile, man, because again, God was there, man. God was there. That's what inspired me to write this book. Again, this book started the day I was born. The journey went, and there were so many times where I would look back now and I remember, wow, you got such a story, you should write a book about it. Wow, you got such a story, you should write a book about it. Wow. And it was on and on. It was like, yeah, whatever, I'm not writing a book, And I would say the first time I really considered it was when I got started wanting to become a professional speaker. That's what started this. A good friend of mine named Adam Flores came into my life, and he started mentoring me into becoming a speaker because he realized that that's what I wanted to do, and so I was going that direction. And that was my first attempt at writing. I wrote an ebook that I gave away. I didn't sell it. I didn't do. And what's sad is that there's a lot of value in that ebook. Some of it I grabbed from there and I put it in here because I knew it was valuable. But unfortunately, I didn't see the value in myself to be confident enough to put that up for sale at the time. I wasn't ready for that. So I just wanted people to get to know me and say, yeah, man, I went through some stuff, but here's the lessons I learned from it. And I was very just blimped over it. And I thought that was my shortcut to kind of get away, to go, here, God, I wrote your book, right? Here, this is what you wanted, right? And then kind of get out of there. But no, it doesn't work that way, man. God said, no. You're not getting out of this. No. And then that led to me meeting my good friend and spiritual mentor, Ken and Lisa Loring, who are watching on Periscope. So honored to have you guys. And they started, they basically, matter of fact, I think I've got it here. They came to Tallahassee, Florida, and they gave me a law enforcement Bible.
Wow.
And they said, with this Bible, you're going to do some amazing things. And it was with Adam Flores. So they gave me this Bible, and Ken Loring saw something in me that I didn't see in myself yet. So there was another seed that was planted.
Amen.
Then through Ken Loring, I connected with a woman named Loretta Pierce, another amazing woman who, after we did our interview on my radio show, she had a conversation with me. And after I shared my story with her, she said, Sean, you've got to write the book. You've got to write it now. Quit playing around. It was like it was God coming right through Loretta Pierce saying, stop playing around. I got work for you to do. Write this book. Write it now. And I'd already seen Desiree Lee. I'd already connected with Desiree Lee. I already had a fairly decent relationship with Desiree Lee. And I knew that at some point, if I was going to write a book, that it would be with her. Amen. Because I'm sorry, but Desiree Lee is one of the most amazing human beings on the planet. Yes. Her story is absolutely amazing as well. Yes. And what's awesome is God is lining me up all this time. He's lining me up with all these people that are aligned with him already. And they're all slowly guiding me into the circle going, it's okay, man. It's okay. Come on. We got you. We got you. He kept putting me with supportive people. So I met Loretta Pierce. I did my interview with her. She said, write the book. I went to Desiree Lee. I said, Desiree Lee, I've got to write this book. I said, I've got a deadline. It's got to be done by November 22nd. She said, done. Let's make it happen. I went through her amazing training. You can go check it out, DeelyInspires.com. She was absolutely amazing because she walked me through the process. Here I thought this was going to be so difficult. Look, the story was already in me, Amen. Right? Amen. It wasn't like I had to think about it.
Yes.
All I had to do was have the courage to put it out there. Once I put it out there, it created itself, Angela. It really did. Yes. The book created itself. I followed the simple process that Desiree Lee gave me. I put this book into action. I took the action that needed to be done. And the book was not only written, formatted, my wife, who gets huge credit for the amazing illustration and the work, Tony Zappardo, who did the actual photograph that's on the book, that was partners with Adam Flores when I initiated my brand as a speaker. It all came together. It was all for one purpose, all for one divine purpose, to bring this book together. And finally, after I went with Desiree Lee, then it was a matter of, how do I market it, God? I did what you told me to do. And it was basically like, don't worry about that. And I know, this is the scary part. I know this book's going to go in 1 million plus people's hands. I know 1 million plus people are going to read this book. At least 1 million people are going to read this book.
Yes.
How do I know that? Because I'm on a radio show with 120,000 live audience, not to mention the people that are on Periscope, Amen. Not to mention the people that are going to watch the replays from all over the world, and then the replays are going to be on the website. That in and of itself is going to put it to 250,000.
Amen.
So we've already done a quarter of what God said I was going to do in less than a week, guys, in less than 1 week.
Yes, yes.
So I'm done asking whether it's going to happen or not. I know it's going to happen. Amen. He's facilitating it. All I've got to do is just be here in spirit, follow the guidance, and move forward. So I hope that answers your question, but that was basically the track of how it went to get the book and get it done.
Yes, I think it is phenomenal, especially when you give accolades and kudos to those who have helped you along the way. One of the most important things that I've gotten out of Desiree Lee, which, let me tell you, you talk about an amazing story, you are absolutely right. And the love that she has for everybody that she comes in contact with, literally, I know she is getting crown after crown in heaven because she has been just extraordinary. To even have the courage to tell her story at such a young age, she has so much wisdom. And it definitely, she does not think twice about helping you. That really, giving is her ministry. And the beauty of you saying, giving everybody their, accolades is that God bless you to send laborers in your path that have helped you along the way. See, what you're showing is an example of when we are obedient to God, because remember, he placed this on the inside of you from the very beginning. Not everybody takes heed to that. And a lot of times, we bury our talents, that he has given us for this very reason, to spread this word, to show unconditional love. You have literally been able to do that with this book by sharing your story, being open and being able to bless everybody that came in your path. So you're actually just paying it forward. These seeds that are being sown, they're huge, Sean. They are huge. And they started, well, I remember, Desiree, the very first event I ever did was pass the mustard seed. And I will never forget that, because on my darkest days, I always remember that little seed of faith is all I need, and it can move mountains. And I tell you, it is such a blessing. Isn't it so awesome how God strategically puts people in your path to open the doors that you need to have open right at the time that you need that to take place? That is what is so amazing.
I just thought about this. There's another one. Well, there's so many people I could thank. I got to thank James McNeil too, because James McNeil, another mentor of mine in the speaking industry and just an amazing human being. He was one of the ones that also was about, you've got to have a book to establish credibility. If you want to get people's attention, you've got to have a book. And in the back of the spiritual side of it, God's like, yeah, you've got to get your book out. You've got to get your book out. And then, of course, the AIB, man. I would not be here if it wasn't for the AIB. Lisa Hall's another one I've got to mention. Her book, unbelievable. I read her story, and I was like, holy cow. If this girl can put her story out, if she can put her story out, I can put my story out. And then I started seeing more and more and more of these amazing authors putting amazing content out there. And I said, and you know what was the most amazing part? They were all, I haven't met one yet that wasn't aligned with God in some way, shape, or another. And every one of them confirmed that I was in the right place, that I needed to be where I needed to be. And then Atlanta, Georgia hits a couple of weeks ago. And Desiree Lee does a book signing over there. And I'm like, you know what? I want to go see what it's all about. Lisa Hall's going to be there. I want to go support these new authors. Let me go check this thing out. And what happens? I go, I meet amazing people. And then you ask me if I'm open to doing an interview after I share my story. You put my interview out on your show, and then you give me the honor of being on your show tonight. If that's not God moving, I don't know what is.
Amen. Amen. Well, I tell you what, you guys are way more of a blessing than I am, because each and every author at that event, I took away something that I can, have for the rest of my life. Because what people don't understand is the journey is not always easy. And what we're doing, even though it changes lives, you do get a lot of more, adversaries sometimes than you have people that are coming, that are for you. So you definitely have to be grounded and focused. And I think in this type of industry, it really separates the people who really have this burning desire, as opposed to someone who just thinks this is what they want to do. Because you have to learn how to deal with rejection more often than not. Sometimes in this industry, you're having to convince people to believe in you, something that they need in their lives, and that's not always easy either. So my hat always goes off to the underdog, especially in this arena, because we are proof that if you really, really want it, you just have to keep pushing hard to get it. And this is where we see your desire. If you really want to make this happen, you're going to do whatever it needs to make sure that it gets done. And again, God always strategically puts angels, what I call angels, in your path to guide you exactly where you need to be. Let me, I'm going to go back, because a little while ago you did mention about not believing in yourself enough at the time to, when you wrote the ebook. So my question is, at what point did you begin to learn to love yourself? Because part of that healing is whatever we've done in our past that we're not happy with, we have to learn to overcome and forgive ourselves, which I think is even more difficult than asking forgiveness of someone. What was your process? And again, my show is, I always say, I'm interviewing with a purpose. So my purpose is that someone out there who has gone through some things, they may have even lived a life they're not proud of, but they have the ability to turn it around. I want them to hear from someone who has turned it around, what that is when it comes now to really learning how to love yourself.
Okay. That's a great question. So I'll start that out by saying simply, you have to find yourself. You have to really discover who you are. You've got to listen to God so you can find your true purpose. I think so many of us are wandering around. I included for a long time, man. I wandered around. I knew I wanted to work for myself. I knew I didn't want to be a cop the rest of my life. I'm in law enforcement. I've been in law enforcement 17 years. I love what I do. I've done everything I want to do in my childhood dreams, but I just knew that there was something bigger, that, going in the military was just a step. Going through all the things I've gone through in my life were just a step. Going through the law enforcement, all the experiences was just a step. But that there's something, I've got so much more yet to do on this earth. And, that was just the beginning for me.
Yes.
And I would say that the turning point was forgiveness. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the turning point was forgiveness, because for a long time, when I would say when I got about 18 and I started out on my own, I decided I was going to take everything I dealt with. I was just going to tuck it down inside. I wasn't going to share it with anybody. And I was going to move on with my life and everything would be okay, no problem. Well, it worked out for a while, until I got into personal relationships, marriage, and things like that. And then that was a barrier that I didn't realize was there, but it was a huge hindrance on my life.
Right.
And the whole reason was this. I blamed my mother. I blamed my mother because my mom was there. When my dad abandoned me, my mom stayed with me. When my grandparents tried to take me away from her at the age of 3, my mom was with me. My mom was with me all the way until I was 7 as a single mother. We had an amazing life together that I remember. And then after that, everything changed. And when the last thing happened, and I don't want to give it away because it's in my book, and I want people to read the book, so I don't want to just give everything away. But there's a traumatic incident that happened in my life that I ended up running away from home after that. And when I did, when they called my mom to tell her that they had found me, my mom said, "He can't come back here. He's not. I don't want him to come back here." And in my mind, as a 10-year-old little boy, that was my mom saying, "I don't want you.
Right.
I don't want you to be here." So what happened was, for the next 10, 20, 30, I'm at age 30 now, I'm still dealing with this because I've never really let it go. And then finally, I meet my beautiful wife, Lynn, who leads me back to God, who leads me back to, Catholicism, if you will, and I go to a retreat. And in this retreat, there's a scripture that I share.
You're saying this is an excuse factory. And I say, some people, there is a bunch of people gathered in the break room. Something crazy about your fourth quarter.
Okay, sorry about that.
Are we okay?
Yes, I think that we had someone call in and didn't mute their line, so we apologize. You know how the enemy tries to do. We're getting a story out, and there's always some kind of interruption.
Oh, we're good. We're good. So what it really comes down to, though, is in that retreat, God showed me in Scripture I had to forgive my mom.
Yes.
So I forgave my mom. So that was the turning point, was step one, recognizing that I still was dealing with this and I needed to let it go. And the only way to let it go, and it was like God tapped me on the shoulder at that retreat and said, "Listen, man, I've got a lot I want to do with you, a lot. But I can't do anything until you let this go. You've got to forgive your mom. Yes. Step one, forgive your mom." I did it. The problem was, it was another 10 years before God revealed to me what actually happened. And this is what happened. This is why you got to get the book, guys, because I share this. This is the movement process. First, my mindset adjusted. When my mindset adjusted, the opportunities began to come. When the opportunities began to come, my vision became more clear and defined to what my real purpose was. I became empowered to move, to actually take action. Taking that action created massive momentum, which we're getting now, which has led to me getting more education, more understanding of what my real purpose was. And then that led to the navigation. What was my start point and what was the end point? What did God really want me to do, and how was I going to get there? Because we both know that even though 2 points that passes away from one point to the other is a straight line, you're not going to get there in a straight line. There's going to be obstacles. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be things that are going to get in your way that you're going to have to deal with. And last but not least, the moment that I'm in now, the transformation process.
Amen.
And that is the movement process. That is the process that I share in my book. I break it down step by step to help people to understand that process. Because it took me 40 years. If you're listening and you're dealing with something and you haven't let it go, listen to me. I dealt with it for 40 years before I was finally able to let it go. You don't have to do that. You can invest in this book. You can read it, and in less than an hour and a half, you will have the outline. You will have the strategy that you need to let go of whatever it is that you're dealing with in your life and have the guideline. I'm not saying it's the end-all, be-all, but it's the start point to be able to let it go so you can move forward with your life. And if you're just willing to follow the principles that not I laid out, that God laid out through me, you will have success. There's no ifs, ands, or buts in my mind about that.
Amen. I absolutely love that. And one of the things that I definitely do agree on is mindset. If your mind is not where it needs to be, what I've always look at is if you're not, if you haven't let go of things, which that's why I love this title, Let Go, they become distractions. So when you're distracted, you can't get to your goal point because you're constantly upset, or something, you're still bitter, or you're still angry. You can't move forward. I hear it all the time, and I really believe this. Forgiveness is for you. It really isn't for the other person. It really is for you. It is for you to be able to be free, because it is a bondage when you're holding on to so much negativity. It just, you can't move forward. It's just too much of a distraction. So I love that you allow that lesson to be learned in your book, because it is so instrumental in getting to your next level in life. And that is important. Listen, Sean.
And here's the
Go right ahead.
Here's one more thing to add to that, if I may.
Yes.
Because this is really important. At 10, I thought my mom had left me. At 40, the truth came out. My mom didn't leave me. My mom saved me. If it wouldn't have been for my mom, I might not be here on this earth today. I mean, this guy was crazy. She ended up with him for 25 years after that. Mm-hmm. And she wanted to make sure that I didn't live that life. And she... it was so powerful because she was one of the first ones that read my book on Thanksgiving Day, and she connected with me afterwards. She's like, I had to hold off on going to dinner because I had to read the whole book. I couldn't put it down.
Amen.
And she wrote the first Amazon review for my book.
Amazing.
And it was so healing, because when I did the ebook, she felt like I was attacking her in there. And when I called her to tell her about this one, I said, Mom, I dedicated this book. If I can I read the dedication? Because this is a beautiful thing. This is what God does when you allow Him to, and it's really important. I mean, my mom, for many years, I blamed her for everything. And the dedication goes like this. It says, to my mother, thank you for everything you gave up and went through for me. It took years to realize what you'd really done. All those years, I thought you'd given up at the age of 10 because you didn't want me in your life. Now I understand that what you did was save my life. Because of your sacrifice, I've been able to live a life filled with God's purpose, have an amazing family, and help others to eliminate their self-doubt and find their purpose in life. I'm honored to dedicate this book to you.
Oh,
that's
beautiful.
That's the power of the movement, guys, right there. That's the power of the movement.
Amen. Listen, I am absolutely loving our interview. I have to take a quick break. We're going to listen to the sounds of 108 Praise Radio. Listen, I'm going to shut it down. Just one song. We're going to get one good one in there, and then we will be back to finish this amazing interview. Sean, thank you so much. You guys are listening to the Angela Foxworth Show right here on 108 Praise Radio, and we will be right back in, I love saying this, Chuck Rillery 2 and 2. I'll see you in a few minutes.